Screens.
Go. Yeah. Direct it, make it. Go. Yeah. As I was told.
I'm your host, DJ Iz. I got my lovely Miss Giggles host. Chloe, say what's up.
Happy Monday. Let's get some movement.
Let's get it going. Now, we got a quite a busy show, but before we go into that, as you can see, we're back in our home, which is Roland. So shout out to Roland for allowing us to kick our feet up and hang out and relax on today's show.
Yeah.
Today is all about Monday movement, and here we are.
Live.
We live and direct in LA, California.
We live, y'all. It's
We're
happening.
live, yeah. So we got a lot of things going on, and I want to let's just get to it.
Love it.
So we have two guests on the show today.
Yeah,
So
we do.
before we get into our guests, I want to encourage our viewers to actually get your questions in.
Get it in now because we are moving.
Yeah, because when we hit this Q&A, it's going to go really fast.
It is.
So
And also for the chat is in your upper right-hand corner of your screen. So make sure that you can engage with us there.
absolutely. So first guest we got up is Steve Gordon.
He is an entertainment lawyer and an author and just a million other things. And we have him coming to us virtually today. His latest book, The 11 Contracts That Every Artist, Songwriter, and Producer Should Know. He's got over 20 years of business in the legal side of the music business. And has repped Atlantic and Elektra, and has also been the director of business affairs for Sony. We all like to hear about business affairs.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's how you know you're doing it right when you talk
Right.
to business affairs for more than 10 years. And today, Steve is offering great legal advice for artists, songwriters, and music producers. So, Steve, are you with us?
Are you with us, Steve?
This is also the point where I say we're live.
We are live.
And this is live.
I don't know. Should we try the volume on the TV?
We can totally try. Steve, are you there?
Are you there, Steve? Are you with us? Is he here, folks? Hey, there he is. All right.
Ah.
How you doing, man?
Is that you?
Hello, are we on?
Can you hear us? Yes. Can you hear us?
You're here.
Let me increase the volume. Okay, I think I can hear you.
Okay,
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, now I hear you better.
Perfect. Fantastic. Welcome.
Hi.
Cool. So, Steve, we're going to get this rolling, man. We kind of just want to dive into this. As you know, our viewers range from songwriters, producers, engineers. We have tons of film students, people who are into the film aspect. And, just to kind of get them up to speed, man, I kind of want to just kind of dive into your book and the reason, for writing it and what you were thinking in terms of going that route as far as putting a book out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just getting a copy for you now. Oh, here it is.
Oh, we got one too.
Yes, we
got
do.
one too. We're representing over here too.
Nicely done.
So, Steve, what made you want to decide to write your book?
It started as a series of articles that I started to write for a blog called Digital Music News. And after I published several of the articles, I realized that it could make a good book. Both the articles and the book are based on my actual experience as an entertainment lawyer in private practice. I often get clients who are emerging artists or new artists or songwriters and producers, and they come in with contracts for me to review or to prepare contracts for them. So, for instance, last week, a musician producer asked me to create a contract between herself and an artist because she wrote a song and she's going to record the song with the artist, and she wanted to make it clear who owned the song and what royalties the artist would receive. this week, in fact, this morning, I was just finishing up reviewing a management agreement for a new singer-songwriter who has a lot of talent and a very promising career ahead of her. And I marked that up. There were some big problems with that management agreement that we're going to try to fix. But the inspiration for the book was my actual practice and dealing with these new or emerging singers, songwriters, producers, and what have you, and the issues that they come in and want me to work on.
Huh.
Interesting.
Now, I would ask one additional thing. If you look for a contract like a producer deal, or you look for a management agreement online, you're probably not going to find anything because I've looked. And so this book provides perhaps the only place where you can actually see what these agreements look like. And more than that, because as my old law firm would tell me, forms are dummies. I give you the form, but I also explain it with introductions and annotations for all the key provisions. You not only have a form of agreement, you know what it means.
I mean that's
Yeah,
like
that's a good that's definitely a good note. Which brings me to something that I always get, and I'm sure you might always get this, but folks, whether you're a music creator, you're in film or doing anything in the arts at a at an aspiring professional level, people always want to know, at what point do I get a lawyer involved? Do I need to have a lawyer go to this meeting with me? I mean, can you kind of like give some insight on when that needs to happen, when the engagement of a lawyer needs to be brought in?
I mean, it's a great question, and I get people can sometimes barely afford to pay me, and I work something out with them, but people will just have no money at all. And one of the things that this book does, it offers a chapter on what you can do and what you should do, what you can and should do without a lawyer. So let me give you some tips for those people who don't have the wherewithal to hire somebody on a retainer now for say $1,500 to $2,500. What they should and can do by themselves, if they write songs, they're a songwriter or they're an artist who writes songs, or they're a producer that helps create songs, they should become members of ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. These are the what you call performance rights organizations. Now they're all free or charge a nominal amount to join, and without them, you can't get paid for your performance of your songs on radio, television, or the internet. So without them, you won't get paid what you call public performance royalties. Now, what if you, like an artist, songwriter, and you say, well, I don't really get anything. I mean, I'm not on radio, I'm not on commercial radio. But here's the answer to that. You should join, because each of these organizations, and you can only join one, but they all have a program where if you give them set lists of your performance, say you're playing Sidewalk Cafe in New York, or you're out in LA, there are probably a lot of places that singer-songwriters are playing for free. If you give a set list to your PRO, Performance Rights Organization, whether it's ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, they will pay you, and they'll take your word for it. If you just show them the songs that you've performed, which you've written, they'll actually pay you. I have a client friend who got paid $1,250 each quarter from doing this with CSAC, but BMI and ASCAP have it as well. And of course, I have links to all of these organizations in my book. But if you have a pencil and you're a singer-songwriter, you're playing your own music, BMI Live, ASCAP on Stage, CSAC Live Performance, go to bmi.com, ascap.com, csac.com, and you'll find the page where it'll give you more instructions on how to get paid. One other suggestion I would make is to register with the U.S. Copyright Office. It's pretty easy to do. You can do it on your own. You don't need a lawyer. Just read the instructions at www.copyright.gov. And for $35, you can register your song. For $55, you can register a group of your songs. And the reason that this is important is without registration, you can't sue anybody. And if you register after an infringement, you don't get the benefits of the registration, which are attorney's fees and $150,000 in statutory damages. So it's a big weapon if you do it right, and a good defense in case anybody steals your music. And there's a myth that sending your song or the lyrics certified mail to yourself will protect you. It doesn't do anything. The only way to get protections of the copyright law is to register with the Copyright Office.
Bam.
That's incredible information. I've been with BMI, I want to say, for the last 25 years. And, you know, I think for me, even as a creator, to be able to see them evolve, as you both and I know, the industry from all aspects has evolved and has had to evolve because of, you know, obviously, you know, other things like piracy and downloading, and just, you know, the financials aren't there like they used to be. So that's extremely helpful information. You know, one last question too, because, you know, I've been in music all my life, and I've dealt with an array of attorneys, and, you know, you always hear the horror stories of folks that have had just bad deals done by attorneys and everything. And, you know, I always have this rule of thumb is, you know, attorneys they would like for you to believe that you work for them, but at the end of the day, they work for you. How important is it, even just from your, you know, experience or your career as a lawyer, just to always remain a good rapport with your clients?
Well, let me give you an example of how a lawyer can help. One day, I got a call from a father in Canada of an 18-year-old singer-songwriter, and he said, "Steve, first of all, are you an entertainment lawyer?" So I assured him I was. He said, "My daughter is a brilliant singer and a brilliant songwriter, and I hear that a lot. But when he sent me some of her music, even though I'm not an A&R, I knew she was special. And then he sent me the agreement that two guys in New York had offered her. One guy was a producer, and the other guy came from investment banking. And the agreement that he sent me is what I refer to as the contract from hell. And it comes in various forms. This one would have required her to pay 40% of her income from the entertainment business forever. And they were her exclusive recording company and exclusive management. And it was just two guys. And they were out for a hustle. Now, if they had put this in an offer, I could have worked with them. But they put signature lines when they sent it to her in Canada. And that is really bad and distasteful. And of course, I persuaded them not to sign it. Now, where a lawyer can help is to prevent the person, artist, from entering the contract from hell. But in addition to that, I hooked her up with management. Now, this girl had 250,000 followers on Vine and already put a song up on iTunes. That was the second bestseller to Ed Sheeran in singer-songwriter category. So she was already getting, you know, letters from junior people at the labels kind of interested in her. And she did all of this without anybody, without a record company or management. And that's how those two guys found out about her. I hooked her up with very powerful management, represents a lot of stars, celebrities. And the head of the management company did take an interest in her, recognized her talent. And the next thing we knew, there was a bidding war between the major record labels. And I mean a real bidding war. She met with Sony one day, and the president of Warner Records flew in that night because he had heard that Sony wanted to sign her. Anyway, she got $1 million deal. She's now a household name in Canada. She just won a big Juno Award. And she's soon going to probably be famous in the United States. And all of that started with the contract from hell that I helped her not to sign. So that's how a lawyer can help.
Wow.
So I wanted to give you a positive story.
That's awesome, man. You know, unfortunately, there's more horror stories than there is positive. But I think, you know, the great thing too, man, is that, you know, in this day and age, I mean, we still, you know, have people like yourself on the other end, you know, who really provide that pathway and gateway for aspiring creators, songwriters, producers, and artists. And, you know, it doesn't surprise me, but to me, it's very like unfortunate that fools are out here still trying to take people for everything they possibly can. Like, I mean, I was like, dude, because you see it happen so many times in this game. It's like at some point, man, you're still on that. It's like,
But as
And
long as people will bite.
as
why
long as
wouldn't
people
they
bite,
do
and
it?
you know, and I think that's key. I mean, when you can have access to, you know, a guy like Steve who can,
Because it's amazing.
yeah, who can show you what, you know, what ugly looks like. And it's like, you don't want to do that. This is what you want to do. Hold off on that, you know.
Wait, speaking of hold off, can we bump into our grind up one? Steve, we'll be right back with you in just 1 second.
Sure. Okay, absolutely.
All right, rolling it for grind up one. Hit it, y'all.
First grind op of the day is in the field of music producer, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles-based record label looking for rock producer. Manage all phases of production process from recording to product ordering to delivery. Ensure all production materials are created to production spec accurate and error-free.
Well.
Communicate and manage recording, production, delivery deadlines. Now here's what's great.
Hit it.
What I love about this details, this is the first details we actually that said error-free. And what people don't realize is, like, for all our viewers who are tuning, a lot of these environments are error-free. There's no room for mistake.
No.
There's no room for figure it out the moment you get there. Like, you know, and
You're right. This is the first time somebody said don't mess up. Like,
yeah.
don't mess up.
But and it's funny because, like, even when I get a chance to talk to folks and you know, they're aspiring, you know, engineers or producers or anything of that nature, it's like, you know, the first thing you have to understand, there's no room for mess ups, man. It's just like, you get in there, you got to know your gear if you're going to be an engineer. You got to be able to go, you know, because, you know, that time of you not knowing something, somebody's having to pay for that.
Hello?
And I always say, man, I'm not teaching anybody on my
your
dime
dime.
anymore. I've done my fair share of community service. Those days are over. But that's extremely important. And you know, again, that was in California.
That was totally in California. Should we bounce back to Steve?
Let's bounce
We got
back
more.
to Steve.
Steve, we're bouncing back to you, okay?
Are you there, Steve?
Yes, I'm here. And I did
Okay.
want to add something. You know, I wanted to add that, you know, I've heard stories of bad lawyers. I was at Sony Music and for 10 years, and everybody I dealt with, including the lawyers for the artists, were like really good and had a lot of integrity. I know there are some bad lawyers out there, like there are in any field, but the way to avoid that horror story, I heard about one lawyer in Philadelphia who charged a lot of money, promising a lot of things, shop the records, get you a deal, and then the client hardly heard back anything. One way of avoiding that, to the extent there are bad lawyers, is don't offer them a lot of money up front. Just like anything else, like hiring a home improvement contractor or somebody to repair your kitchen. Pay them in installments and see if they're doing a good job for you. And even for me, I don't ask for a lot of money up front. I'll ask for a $1,500 retainer against a certain number of hours, and if the client thinks I'm doing a good job, we'll go on from there. So just like anything else in business, you know, use a little caution. And I did want to add one thing about money up front. If you become a member of ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, not only will you get paid for your own set list of gigs, but you need to exploit what they're offering you. And you should know this from the experience of BMI. The membership offices have these young guys and women who are really music lovers, who know a lot about it. And these are not the admin people, the bean counters. These are real music folks. And they will, if you actually push them or just actually call them, because they have millions of members, okay, ASCAP and BMI, and very few people know that they can arrange for an appointment with the membership office and actually sit down with somebody who can evaluate their music, and also, if they like you, set you up with a producer, an artist, and so forth. Now, Keisha and Dr. Luke may not love each other anymore, but Keisha would probably have never become Keisha unless she met Dr. Luke, and it was BMI that arranged that introduction.
You know, that's awesome information. And you know what I love, something that stood out to me about what you just said was, you know, people in our industry who aren't bean counters who are making decisions. And I think at one point, that's kind of where our industry began to really change, is when I think bean counters got in the places of, you know, being the gatekeepers, and it was no longer the creatives making the decisions. And now here we are, you know, everyone's trying to scramble because, you know, we've been reduced down to 99 cents a song. And I think it's key for, you know, folks to understand those various outlets and that information, because it's out there now. And, you know, you figure that the music industry years ago, I mean, not everybody was willing to share information like publishing and, you know, how the pie is divvied up. And you know, it's getting to the point now where you can't just easily fool people now because the information is so so much of it is out there. But that's it's great things you pointed out there, Steve. One other question I do have for you, as far as we get a lot of kids who are making beats in the room, who are sampling and doing stuff on the computer. What are some advice you can give on sampling and how those dynamics work when you're using other people's music?
Okay, well, let's discuss first of all what we're talking about exactly. There are two forms of sampling, and most people think of it as just taking a piece of a recording, like some drum play, and inserting it in your song. But sampling can also occur where you re-record a prior composition. Uh, Missing You by Puffy comes to mind. And that's sampling as well. But the basic rule is this: the original owner of the song or the recording has a copyright interest in that song or master. And they have, under copyright law, the exclusive right to make so-called derivative works. So that when you take a piece of an underlying song or you take a piece of a recording, you're creating a so-called derivative work, which is in violation of the original owner's copyright. So as a general rule, you need permission. Now, there are exceptions, and I'll discuss them in a minute. But in terms of getting permission, people like me and other clearance people, as well as lawyers, are in the business of clearing samples. And big record companies will hire a clearance person or a lawyer to clear those samples because they have deep, so-called deep pockets, and a lawsuit for sampling could result in heavy damages for an artist or a record company. So, for instance, when I was working with Arista Records, they cleared everything in terms of samples when Puffy's new records came out when he was with Arista for a minute. But in terms of fees, it ranges on the popularity of the original song. If you are using some obscure reggae beat, you're not going to pay as much. But if you're using a big hit, the answer is going to be no, you can't sample at all, or it's going to be more money. And another big factor is how you use the sample. If you repeat it again and again in a loop in your song, you're going to pay more than if you use just a brief measure inside your song. And if it's not the essence or the heart of your song. So it could depend, depending on these factors, the negotiation could range from 1,000 or 2,000 all the way up, okay? Now, the exceptions. If you're using a recording in your song in a manner that it's unrecognizable as to what it originally was, then number one, probably nobody's going to find out about it. And even though they do, could be deemed to be a de minimis use because nobody recognizes the original song. Of course, the whole point of sampling, more often than not, is that it conjures up the original song. But the less that it resembles the original, the more likely it wouldn't have to be cleared. Another exception is parody. Parody is an exception to the Copyright Act, and it allows someone to spoof an original song or make fun of it. For instance, Saturday Night Live spoofed the New York theme, I Love New York, in a parody about how bad things were in the city. This was back in the 80s. And the copyright owner, the original writers of the jingle, sued and they lost because the court felt that the parody in Saturday Night Live was making fun of the original, and didn't use a lot of the original, just used a couple of bars. And the Saturday Night Live people won the case. The unfortunate thing about this defense, which is called the fair use defense, is everything depends on the facts in each case. And so that's why Weird Al, when he does his parodies, he always gets permission because he doesn't want to contend with litigation. So to be safe is better than to be sorry. And if you're going to bet on your song becoming a hit, then you better think twice about sampling without permission. In fact, that actually happened to a client of mine. Yep.
No,
a client of mine used.
That's actually, that's like a miniature clinic on sampling, and you heard it from one of the best on how to do it and how to be clever if you can, you know.
Sure do.
And I think that's important because I actually came up in an era, Steve, where I gravitated towards drum machines that sampled, and I used to just kind of go through crates, and that's kind of how I built, just what I've been able to do on the music side. So that's extremely helpful information.
Before we do go, we do have a question on the TV and film side. And the question being, on the TV and film side with the composers, what parts of your book apply specifically to the music that will go into the movies and the television shows and composing for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's important because that's an important source of income for a lot of musicians. My best friend is a jazz musician. He writes occasionally for Spike Lee ads and movies and so forth, and that's a big chunk of his income. So I have two different chapters in the book that deal with this, because writing for movies, whether it's an independent feature movie or it's a major Hollywood blockbuster movie, composer agreements for movies fall into a certain set of standard terms. Now, in the book, in this chapter, as I do with other chapters, I present two contracts. One is pro-composer, and the other is pro-producer, so that composers, because this book is basically for creative people, can see both sides of the equation, and they can identify what to look out for and what kind of contract not to sign without trying to make it better. A pro-composer agreement would give the producer of a movie a limited right to use the music, say an exclusive right to use the music for a period of time. And then after which the composer can use the music again for other reasons or other purposes. So that, say, a movie comes out this May, the producer would have the right to keep the composer from using that music for, say, a year. And then the composer could use the music again. A pro-producer contract will use the words work for hire, which is almost always a bad thing for creative people, which means that the producer would gain all rights in the music forever, and the composer could never use it again. Another provisions that are really important in this agreement are in this chapter, including a credit for a composer, because credits can lead to bigger jobs, better paying jobs in the future. And of course, the composer should get a credit in the movie, and if at all possible, in the advertising for a movie as well. So that's one chapter dealing just with writing music for movies, because it really is a special kind of animal with special terms that apply in that world. Then I have a chapter on writing music for television, which is somewhat different. So let me give you an anecdote of how that would work. A guy came to me through a mutual friend, and he had just landed a gig, an offer to write music for a major beer TV campaign. And I took a look at the agreement that he was about to sign, which did say work for hire, and we were able to change it to a one-year deal. So he got the right to use the music again. I got him a little more money, and I got him the right to retain the right to collect public performance royalties. Now, we talked about ASCAP, BMI, and CSEC. When a commercial plays on television, it generates public performance royalties. ASCAP and BMI both collected over $1 billion each, just in the United States. And public performance royalties is really important. And I got him the right to retain his share of those royalties. And he made more money, and it was from BMI, from those royalties, than he did from the original sync fee, is what we call the original fee. And I was able to get him a credit in YouTube so that when the commercial aired on the internet, we were able to press a button, more information, and his name popped up. So that kind of agreement we refer to as sync agreements. And I have a whole chapter on the ins and outs of how to make those deals better.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for providing that information, Steve. As you know, Connected is also about providing jobs. So we're going to cut to another job right now, if you don't mind.
Wow.
All right, Grind Op 2 today is Junior Audio Mixer, Los Angeles, California. Well, Cali's on the map today,
It
huh?
really is representing.
Here are those details. Music and video production company in LA seeks freelance audio mixer. Perform basic mixing for in-house projects. Prepare audio files for senior sound mixers. Work with senior sound mixer to ensure a seamless handoff from editors to sound editorial and mixing. Now, this is a great gig for, engineer. Now, there's two types of engineer. Who loves recording, then you have an engineer who loves to mix, and then three types of engineers. Engineer who loves to record and then mix. So this could be really good for you guys. I think, you definitely want to make sure your ear is polished prior to taking this gig, and you definitely want to be well experienced.
So pop back over to Steve.
You want to pop? Let's pop.
We're gonna talk right quick.
Let's pop over there.
We have one more question for you, and then we're gonna talk about this book right quick because there's a fantastic offer for it that we have access to right now. So, what is the weirdest contract that you have ever been a part of?
Well, I was going to use that contract from Howell as an example because that wound up to be an amazing story. I just get a lot of contracts. I get a lot of contracts from people on the other side, either managers or production companies that try to save money on lawyers, and the contract is almost incomprehensible. Perhaps let's get real for a minute. When a producer puts his beat up for sale online, sometimes that producer will offer a contract to a potential buyer that is difficult to understand and sometimes inconsistent. And before a producer puts that beat up for sale, he should know two things. Number one, he should know what he's selling. If he's selling the exclusive right to the song, then he has to know that he cannot sell it again. Now, this is a real case. In fact, I'm supervising some litigation about this because a producer did put his beat up for sale and he offered a so-called exclusive license. Now, he sold it to my client, who actually is in Europe, who created a song with it that went nowhere. But the producer sold it a second time, which is in contradiction to the contract that he signed with my client. And when he sold it the second time, he sold it to an aspiring hip hop artist who is now among the most successful hip hop artists of our era. Okay. And the song was the greatest hit actually on Spotify in 2015. Needless to say, this producer is in a lot of trouble because I'm supervising a case now where we're presenting evidence to some major music companies, not only his record company, the hip hop artist, but his publisher and the producer's publisher and the producer's record company. And all of them are involved now, all because he was providing a contract online and he either didn't know what he was doing or he acted in bad faith. So I guess what I'm saying is you should try to figure out what you're doing, and you can use this book to help you, and you should act in good faith. You were mentioning there are horror stories among lawyers. Well, there are horror stories among all parts of the business. In this case, the producer was probably acting with bad faith.
And I totally hear you, man. But of course, I got to fight for my creators because I've been one of those guys who have had to sit in front of lawyers who, but I'm glad we're here with you, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad we're here with you. Absolutely. Can we let our viewers know where they can find your book and how they can get a hold of you as well?
Sure. They can find the book in the Howell Leonard website called Backwing. And if they just type in Backwing 11 contracts, they can find the book and they can find more information about the book there. And of course, the book is available at Amazon as well. And I do want to clarify one thing because one guy who bought the book had a question where he could find the online content. There is online content and it's on the very first page of the book. you get a website and a password or a passcode. You go to that website, it's the Howell website, you put in your passcode and you'll get video content. Now, I told the publisher I did not want the forms downloadable. I want to be clear about this because, like I said before, forms are dummies. And I didn't want people to use these forms indiscriminately. I wanted them to read the book, read the annotations in each contract so they understand what the contract means. But, you know, nothing's to prevent them from retyping the contracts, but by then you're going to know what they mean. And the online content that's available is not the forms themselves, but video of, for instance, my discussing music licensing and music clearances. So if you're doing a documentary or you're doing a promo video and using some other people's music, you know how to clear it for your project. And we also have a conversation between myself and another veteran music attorney, Bob Celestin, on the four most important contracts. This book has 11, four of which are perhaps more important than others. But let me just tell you what those agreements are. Management agreements, production company agreements, and production company agreements on how they should read, not the contract from hell. Label deals, sync licenses, producer agreements, music publishing contracts. And in the music publishing chapter, I get into what music publishing is and why it's important. Composer agreements, live performance contracts, music video, band agreements, and also in the band agreement chapter, I point out that a band doesn't necessarily need an agreement between the members about how the money is divided and, you know, who owns the gear and all that stuff. And you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on a lawyer to create that because the band may not be successful. And in most cases, unfortunately, they're not. And then the contract that you paid a lot of money for is like meaningless. But in that chapter, I also write about the things that you can do without a lawyer. And one of the things that I didn't mention before is a split sheet. So let me give you a very brief anecdote. Lauryn Hill and a bunch of her boys went into the studio and created the autobiography of Lauryn Hill. In my opinion, one of the best albums of that decade, and a very good selling album. Now, everybody in that studio, as far as I know, was a little bit high, shall we say. And nobody thought about writing down who owned what. And so the litigation surrounding that album lasted for approximately 5 years or more. And at the end of the day, Lauryn Hill broke down in the witness stand and said, I don't know who wrote the songs. I guess God wrote them. But in fact, it was she and her crew. And what could have saved all that litigation and the cost and this money spent on attorneys and so forth would have been a simple split sheet, which would have, it's a very simple document. It basically has the name of the song and the percentage of ownership of each of the people involved. So if I contribute a lick to a hip hop song, then my contribution might be 10%. Of course, everybody's got to agree on the percentage of ownership, but it will save a great deal of lawyers' fees if you simply have a little time and effort to make this so-called split sheet. And an example of a split sheet is in the book.
Awesome. Well, man, dude, I'm definitely scooping up your book, man, because I think just so great to have that on hand and on deck at any time you run into certain situations that you're not clear of, especially for creators. I mean, so many creators in the culture right now just, you know, they need to understand the importance of doing their homework so that they can protect themselves. And you got a industry now that's, you know, driven by also the technology aspect and various things like that. So it gets intense. I know Chloe had a question for you as well.
We do have, this is actually a question from one of our viewers. This is Chris from Amarillo, Texas. Shout out, Chris. He wants to know what role does an audio engineer have in a music production contract?
That's a great question. You know, if your talents exceed simple engineering and you can deem yourself to be a producer, then the benefits of that title come with the title, which is a royalty, an interest, an ownership interest in the song, and so forth. But if you're an engineer and you stay in that role, then you're probably going to get paid by the studio, because studios employ their own engineers, or you should get paid by the artist and or the producer. And generally, engineers are work for hire. But if the engineer does contribute creatively to the process, then they should make a case for getting an ownership interest in the song. And again, the money from songwriting is even more important than sales of records, because as you pointed out, sales of records is down. They're down 50% without accounting for inflation from the high point in 1991 of 14.6 billion in the US to around $7 billion now. For accounting for inflation, that's a decrease of 75%. But money from songwriting, especially from ASCAP and BMI, has actually increased every year, because every time a song is performed on radio or on Spotify, as well as venues, then the songwriters are credited. So if the engineer actually contributed to the song and he can get a stake in that song, even if it's only 10 or 15%, he can make significant income from ASCAP and BMI if the song becomes a hit.
Gotcha.
Dig it. Well, thank you again, Steve, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
You've
Steve.
just been
Pleasure having you, man.
Right? A wealth of information. For those of you that missed it or you've been under a rock, if you want to get a copy of the 11 contracts, we have it at a discount for today. It's normally $50, but if you do go to Amazon right now, we've got a few copies that are available for $14.99. Just make sure you put in recording connection in checkout. And if you miss it, of course, you can go to backwingstore.com/11contracts and enter recording connection to get it at $30. And that's going to be valid until Sunday, 4/23. And that's all, was that midnight? Eastern Standard Time? Eastern Standard
So don't sleep, folks. Go out there and get you one of these. It's definitely going to help you along the way. And
I lost my earring.
almost shield you from a lot of the, the chaos that can happen within these industries. So
Protect
you
your behind.
definitely want to protect your behind. So Chloe, what do we have next?
Well, just thank you to Steve for if
Thank
you
you
want
very
to find
much, folks.
Steve. Check him out at Steve Gordon Law, and then I think we're moving into some more grind ops because guys, we're giving away jobs. Thank you,
that's
Steve.
what we do. Thank you, Steve, man. Good looking, and appreciate you for making time to join us on our show today, man. Extremely helpful to our viewers.
Love it. Roll that grind op 3, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Grind Op 3 is in the field of live sound engineer. This is New York, New York. Here are the details. New York City venue seeks live audio engineer, manage audio volume, and sound quality during events. Proper setup and teardown of equipment. Assist artist engineer with use of in-house equipment. And this is in New York, New York. So, a lot of these things too with live sound engineer, a lot of it is, when you first get in, you're going to be dealing with the brunt work, which is, the tear down, rolling up cables and the whole nine. But, it's a great way to understand the environment and what goes along with it, right? Mm-hmm. Because people think you're going to get into a live sound gig and just jump behind the board.
No, you're not going to do that?
You're not going to do that.
You can't do that?
And I always tell people, for those aspiring engineers, like find the local spots within your town. Find your local areas that have the gigs going on and the bands and see if you can get in there and maybe meet the sound engineer and hang out and kind of just pick his ear. A lot of times you'll find that a guy will kind of take you under his wing and let you see what it's like. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't touching the board.
Aww.
But yeah, so again, that's in New York, New York. And here we are.
We are back and we are live.
Yes.
And what's also great today is in a day of guests and so much fun stuff. We do have our second guest, which is a student success story that's real and it's live. Mm-hmm. Because our next guest is a Film Connection grad. His name is Adam Howell, and he just moved here to the Lala straight from Boston.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
What's up, Adam? Talk to me, man. You got a lot of life in you, man. What's going on?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm good, man.
So just to be clear, you got here a week ago today.
Yeah, last Monday. Yeah.
And first impressions, how are we doing? We seem to be adjusting.
Well, absolutely. I took a visit out to Los Angeles 2 years ago, and I liked it. And right now, I'm just getting acclimated to like the time change right now because it's about like almost 3 o'clock in Boston right now. So yeah, so that's the only thing that's kind of been like, you know, slowing me down. But other than that, I love everything about LA.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're happy to hear you, bro. And I'm just gonna tell you straight up and foremost for our viewers. To me, you're like the perfect walking example.
You are.
Of somebody that has gone through the process along with the recording connection, has had a mentor, and here you are from
Doing
Boston
your thing.
coming to LA to get it done, man. So if you can, for me, just kind of walk me through that personal experience of what that process was like for you, being a student, having the mentor, doing the whole recording connection, because we get a lot of viewers who also haven't been through that route,
maybe want to,
that
or-
maybe
yeah.
want to, and just kind of want to know what it looks like, man. So if we kind of just dive in with us on your experience.
Well, I did like a lot of web surfing about maybe a few years ago, and I got linked up with the Film Connection back in 2014. So I started doing it with the local advertising agency back in Boston. It's called this place called Midcom. I was doing some advertising, PA work, AC work with another kid that was part of the Film Connection, and I did that for about a few months, maybe about like 4 to 6 months. And then I got linked up with the screenwriting mentor, you know, through the Film Connection. And, you know, we built like a phone conversation back and forth for like the last 2.5, 3 years now. He's been helping me like looking over some of my work because I'm, you know, tuning my craft when it comes to screenwriting and developing story and developing characters and everything like that, because eventually that's what I want to do. I want to write and produce films.
Right.
But yeah, it just got to a point where basically, you know, me and my girlfriend, we had the right opportunity to just get up and move and come out here to Cali and just make it happen.
Make it happen.
We're still young. We ain't getting no younger.
Yeah.
Like that.
But you know what, man, that's so dope, Adam, because, you know, I mean, for both of us, I mean, the biggest piece to me, man, is people hearing that, you know what I'm saying? And folks who are in your same position who are like, yo, man, this is what I would love to do. And, you know, but you've put in the work, bro. You put in the calls, the sacrifice, and understanding the importance of honing in on your craft, right? Because I always tell folks, it ain't always so much about the talent anymore. No. Everybody's got talent. These kids are rolling out of bed 4 or 5 years old.
They sure are.
Got more talent in their pinky than I ever had at their age. So it's like understanding the other dynamics, right? Getting with folks, putting in the time, you know, making yourself available, you know?
You have to have, like, I feel like in this industry right here, you have to have persistence. You got to really love what you're doing. You got to really say, you know what, this is what I want to do. I don't want to like sit behind a cubicle like for 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day and do this for like 20, 30 years of my life, and then when I get done with that, it's just like, damn, I should have did this, I should have did that, and everything like that. Because I know like a lot of people personally that have talent like in a lot of things, but they don't have the courage to do it.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's even harder, man, when nobody's writing you a check, you know, and
Right.
it's like, you know,
and you're hungry.
You're hungry. You know, and you start looking at things like, you know, and what you said is so true, Adam. It's like, it takes a lot of courage, man. But I always say, you know, at the end of the day, man, what other person to roll the dice on than yourself?
Absolutely.
You know, as long as you know you got drive and you can get out there and hit the pavement and grind.
And also that you have the chops to back it up on the back end. And that's where talent comes into play. You can have all the drive, all the hustle, but then you show up with your opportunity. And if you suck,
it is what it is.
Well, it has to be a balance.
It has to be a balance, absolutely.
That's why it's important to like really, like I said before, just on developing your craft and also learning like the business side. That's why you know, it's very important to do your homework on all of this type of stuff if you're gonna be in this industry. Like no matter what you're doing, whether it's film, whether it's music, I feel like you really gotta understand like what's going on behind closed doors and everything like that. So you won't be in a situation where it's just like, damn, I remember this dude from so-and-so and you don't see him anymore.
Right,
so it's just like, because a lot of people, they're not on their business game and nothing like that. So I mean, it's very important, but you got to take it serious though. I take it very serious. I take it like this is like my passion right here.
Yeah, this is your heart. You know what I'm saying? This is your heart on the table. So, you know, and that's the thing. It's like knowing all the spectrums, man. You got to know all the spectrum these days. Whereas you look at even the generation that was before us who were aspiring film guys in music, because they were so caught up in, man, I could shoot this, and man, I can play this guitar like this. They never went beyond that because they didn't understand the things on the other side, which were the business aspect, how to protect your creativity. Now, what were some of the things you were able to extract from your mentor and learn and see, and just kind of gauge what you need to perfect?
Well, you know what, honestly, and I bring it back to writing a lot because that's, primarily like what I do on my time and everything like that, writing spec scripts. It's basically, it's funny because you see like all these different, websites, or you see these advertisements for like gurus and all that talking about, write your screenplay in like a week or something like that and sell it to like Warner Brothers or whoever. And it's just like, the bottom line, you just gotta sit down and you gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
And you gotta like really, really love what you're doing. You have to, research. You have to take the time out to do it. I mean, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, for me personally, I used to just wake up every morning and do it for about, 2 to 3 hours on a good day or something like that. Sometimes even longer than that. Like if it's a Saturday, I have nothing going on. So I would spend like majority of my morning and my early afternoon just doing that and just keep on doing it also because it's a practice tool. And I know a lot of times it's difficult because you're thinking like, oh damn, I got these money problems, or some people might have families or whatever like that. They might have kids that they gotta take care of and everything. But it's just like, if you keep on doing that, then eventually something's gonna like come back to you. Because I look at it like this basically. I mean, what good is an opportunity if you're not prepared for it?
Yeah, straight up,
well,
bro. I used to hear that all the time, man. It's like you get that one call. That might be your only call, and you got to be able to deliver.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why practicing is good, because you can't be coming out here like, just saying like, oh, well, I'm aspiring to do this, and then somebody may like you, and they're like, okay, well, you got any type of work you can show me? And it's just like, well, I haven't done anything, but I want to start doing it, and that's a missed opportunity.
Yes, it is.
So it's just like, all right, boom. So like, if you've been, working and putting in the work and doing that, and staying in the crib when everybody's trying to go out and drink and everything like that, and you just saying like, no, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna work on my craft and everything. And then when people see that, they're like, oh, okay, this dude's serious.
It's the dedication, man. It's the work ethic. It's the sacrifice and the appetite to want to do something with what it is. Like I would tell people that, I love this, but it's like, man, you say you love it. That's how you love it. That's how much you love it. Now for those, like for our viewers who aren't really hip as far as the recording connection process, let me just ask you on some, just straight up, like from a 1 to 10, how would you rate your process with the recording connection and what you've been able to experience?
If you're okay, I'm gonna keep it 1,000 right now. So basically, if you're wherever you're at, whether it's anywhere in the States or Canada or somewhere else or whatever like that, it'll be good because you're actually like learning, but it gets to a certain point where if you're that serious, you kind of need to be out here. You kind of have to. I feel like once like I said, I came out here last Monday, and then things have kind of been like rolling for me more since I'm physically present, and that's where you get the most of this program. Is like if you're in the entertainment capital, right? So basically, I feel like from wherever you're doing it at, like wherever your hometown may be or something like that, I think it's cool that you're actually like getting your feet wet and just doing the practice work and everything like that, and just learning certain type of things. But you get the full experience when you actually come out here to Los Angeles. Or I know it's pretty good in New York too, I guess, like from what I hear, but for the most part you kind of have to be out here.
And that's also key, because it's important for people to know at the same time, eventually you have to get where it's at.
Yes.
And you still have LA, you still have New York. You actually have a lot popping in Atlanta, because the permits and it's a lot cheaper out there.
Well, Boston's pretty good too.
Boston,
because like the tax incentives are real good. So Hollywood's been doing like a lot of features out there. I worked on a few films back in the fall, like doing some PA work. I learned a lot about that because eventually I want to produce too. But with tax incentives is good and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, like you want to find out like where's the money coming from, how to get the money.
Yeah, you want to go to where it's popping, man.
Well, here's the thing. In the vein of where the money's coming from and where it's popping, I think this is a perfect opportunity to move into ground up number 4.
Oh, okay.
Let the church say ground up number 4. All right.
I'm gonna let you have this one, Chloe, because this is your role.
Is it me? All right, grind out number 4 is for a production associate and interacting with guests on site for interviews. And again, that's coming to you out of Newton, and that's for a production associate. Dig it. I mean, I don't know what to say extra about that. I feel like it says everything. I don't know. What do you think? Is Adam anything to add?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, since I've been out here, like, the experience has been good. I've been meeting, like, you know, other people on my own time, too, just building other relationships and, you know, connects, because that's the thing about LA. It's just like you can be walking down the street getting like a cup of coffee, getting a, you know, getting a taco or something like that. You might run into somebody and say like, oh, okay, all right, this is what I do and everything like that. I want to do this. This is what I want to pursue and everything. And it's like, all right, cool. So, you know, you can build something.
Yeah, you network. Yep,
so
absolutely.
I mean, and it's just so much easier, like, when you're actually present, because somebody may like you and they're like, oh, well, can you come, you know, meet us for drinks later on tonight? And it's just like, oh, all right, well, I can't. I'm in Australia or something like that. So
and that's true, Adam. Like, I feel you on that, man, because, you know, there's only so much you can do over phone and emails, to where people got to really see you to make that connection.
Always.
And to kind of be able to, like, look at you and be like, you know, I know this kid knows his shit. Like, you know, we got to snatch him up, you know. Absolutely. And that's how it goes a lot, you know. Like, you.
It's all about the energy, too. I'm very vibrant. I pick up on, like, you know, vibes and energy and everything like that. And that actually makes people want to, you know, kind of deal with you more, whether it's on a, like, you know, business level, personal level, I mean, whatever you're doing. It makes you kind of, like, you know, want to be around that type of energy when somebody's doing something that's, you know, inspiration, or is doing something, like, you know, passionate, that they really care about and everything. So I tell people a lot of times, if you're going to be doing something, especially like when it comes to film work, or whether you're doing music or something like that, if you don't have, I feel like this, if you don't have any children, or if you don't have, like, you know, a spouse or whatever like that, I feel like you have to be in love with it. I'm in love with it the way I would be, you know, in love with a woman or something like that, or in love with, you know, my firstborn child or something like that.
You're married to it, man. That's what it is. You're married to it.
Yeah, married to it. Absolutely. You have to be in love with it, because you can't really chase it for the money. Because if you chase it for the money, you're not gonna last in this industry. You just have to be in love with it. You have to be like, you have to breathe it. You have to, you know, sleep it, wake up, think about it. It has to get you out of bed in the morning, basically, for you to do that.
So
absolutely, man.
To our last grind up, what has been your one of the biggest lessons that you learned at Film Connection?
Well, I mean, it's basically about just being consistent. Sure. You know, being present. You know, staying consistent with it. Just continue to do it, no matter how. I mean, I understand, like, you know, life gets in the way. You got things going on, and you might not be able to take care of it right away. But I mean, as long as you stay consistent in doing what you're doing, as long as you still love it like that, you know, you don't have anything to worry about. You just got to keep on doing it. You know, you got to keep on moving. I mean, life is hard, man. You know what I'm saying? So like this right here is just like, I look at this like, yo, man, like, life is hard. So I'm like, this is like whatever right here. I'm gonna keep on doing this. This is gonna be nothing. So,
it's the one piece that takes you away from what life is. It's like, I get to do what I love for this moment in time. Let me enjoy it and let me go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna move into this fifth grind up of the day. Fifth grind up of the day is in the field of production coordinator. Chloe, I'm gonna let you have this one again, because this is go for it.
Okay. So this is her production coordinator, coming to you out of San Francisco, California. A San Francisco entertainment company seeks a production coordinator. Must be a self-starter, understand deadlines, and able to handle multiple projects simultaneously. Assist with the day-to-day needs of the video production and post-production teams, and assist producer or producers in creating and maintaining project budgets. The other things that we don't have up there, but to manage and collect and organize media, as well as work with social media teams to monitor content performance. And again, that's coming to you out of San Francisco, California. That is a job with many parts, many hats, much organization I think is needed, but I think that's also pretty self-explanatory. What would you say, fellas? Yes?
Man, it was all there for me. It was all there. So we're going to move on into our newsletter and our success, our student success.
Because we do. So this week, our student newsletter is, you know, because you are a walking success, we have our newsletter. And this is Jason Branches, and we're shouting out to our Recording Connection grad, because not only did he land a job with the top recording studio in Maui, he has been assisting rock folk like Fleetwood Mac ever since. So shout out to Jason.
What up, Jason?
Right?
Congrats.
For the full story on Jason, you can make sure that you check out our weekly newsletter, which will be coming to you a little bit later on today. And the graphic is right there. If you
Bam, yeah. That's right there. So you know what, Chloe, we're going to jump into, we also have 5 additional grind
We
ops.
sure do.
So let's get that up on the screen. We have, for folks now, Adam, when we first started, man, we were only at 5 jobs a week.
Sure were.
So we've been able to grow, man. We're doing culinary. So now we have 5 additional jobs, which we introduce on our website. So we're at 10 jobs a week now, which I think ain't too bad, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good
just
start, yeah.
from your view, man, how many folks out there handing out jobs, man?
So many.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, out here, there's a lot of jobs available. But again, you have to put yourself out there. You have
Absolutely.
to want to do it. You have to want to seek it, and you really have to just be about it and everything. Because I talk to so many people, they tell me about, what they want to do or what they're in love with. But again, they don't actually do it. They talk about it for so long, and it's just like you see a lot of people come up, then they end up doing it, and it's like they end up passing them by a little bit. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those 5 additional grind ops, let me show you real quick. Those are in New York, film, TV editor. One's in Houston, Texas, radio board operator. You want to read them?
We got radio. Ooh, on-air radio talk show host in Des Moines. We've got
in radio.
I
love how you jump into that.
As I do my official.
I feel like I was hogging it.
Not at all. We've also got shout out DC for an
DC.
on-air radio personality. And also in the field of culinary, we've got a line cook in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania.
Bam.
It seems like today we've had it's been a California and New
Yes,
York sort of day.
We're being greedy. I want to make sure we're spreading it out. Luckily we got my man from Boston, so that made it great.
Wait, so speaking of, Adam, we have a question for you from our viewers. We have Marlon from Pico Rivera who wants to know what products, what have you made? No, what projects do you have in the works?
Well, currently I've just been, writing a lot of different spec scripts and just trying to figure out ways to get them off the ground and just meeting with people. And basically it comes back to finding where the money is.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Find the money.
And the money will find you.
Yeah, you just got to get out there and look for the money. So, I mean, basically, if you actually want to film some projects, just keep on doing what you're doing, but get with like-minded individuals that, have the same vision as you and find the money. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
We got one from Brooklyn, New York. What's the best way to get good actors to work on your project?
Well, I feel like if you can't, pay them a lot of money up front.
Hey, that's real though. That's real spit right there.
If you can't, pay them any type of money up front, try to provide some type of, reimbursement with gas. You want to keep people fed really well when they're working on projects because
I will work. Look, let me tell you this: as an actor, I will work on your project. If you don't have money to pay me, but I do believe in your script and I love the team. If you tell me that you can feed me, well, I'm not talking about pizza. I'm talking about their vegetables present and a protein. Maybe even a dessert if we're getting real crazy, but I'm not picky, or wine or something like that. I will work with you.
Yeah, you got to, I feel like you got to offer them something, like I said. When it comes to, gas reassemblement or
something, right?
Food,
Absolutely.
something, you just got to build some type of way eventually. Because if you, because at the end of the day, it's all about growing relationships and building relationships because, 5 years later, they might be in a certain type of position. They're going to be like, oh, okay, this person gave me a chance, so I remember this. And this industry is really all about, building relationships and everything like that.
And
maintaining them. That's
building
the key.
and maintaining.
Yeah.
Adam, we have one last question for you, man. Do you ever have trouble writing what you see in your imagination or getting the right words on the page?
Not necessarily, because that's actually a fun process of screenwriting for me. But if you do have problems with it, I feel like whatever you're thinking about, you should just always carry a notebook and a pen with you and write everything down. No matter if you're at work or if you're doing something else, you should always carry a pen and a pad with you. So then you can go back to try to visualize it and everything like that. But me personally, that's one of the experiences that I like about screenwriting, that process of going through the struggle and bringing something to life. Because if it's the same, it's not going to stand out. It's going to be like everything else. I think that's one of the biggest problems with, Hollywood as a whole, because we almost lost that space for a middle ground of movies now. If it's not a big tentpole type of
Yeah.
movie, big blockbuster. It's like a small, indie film or whatever. But you want to try to do something that's unique. I mean, and it means something to you.
Right.
So yeah, don't just try to do it because this is what's going on right now, or this might make me a lot of money. You just gotta. It has to mean something to you, and you gotta want to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on today, man. And also, too, I want to make a point that we here at Connected stay in tune with you, man, and just kind of keep up to date on what you got going out in LA. And we'd love to have you back, man.
No
and
Where can we find you for people that do want more info on you and to reach out to you?
I'm on Twitter right now, so you can catch me on Twitter at Ace Howell 1. So that's a capital ACEHOWELL 1.
Love it.
Word.
On the Twitter.
On
On
Twitter.
tweets, get your tweets together.
Yeah.
Well, again, man, thank you for coming by, man. We're getting ready to close out the show, and I just want to shout out our Connected team who makes this possible for us to do every Monday.
Yes.
And also our Rolling guys, Rolling family.
Absolutely.
Igor, Chris, Mark, what up, yo? Thank you guys so much. It's always great to be able to hear and kick our feet up on the couch and just kind of vibe out and hang with great guests like
Live
Adam.
and
So
be and do.
so yeah, man. So Chloe, I'm gonna let them know where they can follow us at. And
Follow us, guys.
follow
Follow us. There's a graphic. It's going in. It's got all of our information on social media. We are at IZConnected. So to go there, you're going to get connected with us on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the Facebook, all at IZConnected. Then to email us directly, we've got connected@rrfedu.com. We've got our info for our web. That's where you can get all the way connected. We've got our Facebook Messenger app. Make sure you're not missing that. For more information, rrfedu.com/connected/app. Roll that second slide, please. Then, of course, to apply for our jobs, you're going to go to our Connected latest page. That's going to have the 5 grind ops that we featured, as well as the 5 additional grind ops that we have, because now we're giving away 10 jobs instead of just 5. For all of our resources, make sure you check out our vault. That's our rrfedu.com/connected/vault. And of course, our newsletter, which this week is featuring the fabulous Jason Branches. That is rrfedu.com/weekly-report, and that is for our newsletter. Shout out again to our team, because when we talk about connection and getting people connected, our team here is made up of Recording and Film Connection alums and grads. So Leah and we've got photos. Put in the photo. Can we see the photo? That's our team. Look at everybody. Look at everybody. And they make up our Connected crew. So thank you all. And of course, the fabulous Leah, who runs our social media.
Holds it down, yes.
She holds it down.
She does.
So thank you guys. Thank you. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. We're ever so grateful. And that's our show.
And that is our show for today. We look forward to seeing you next week for next Monday's movement. And again, thank my man Adam for coming out and hanging out with us and helping us understand his roadmap from getting out here to Cali. So I'm my lovely co-host Miss Chloe, and it's been fun and inventive. Love you guys. Peace.